Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Otter Rhythm Fantasy Studios. I'm Jamie. Got my co-host Eli on the other side over there. We're bringing you something way different, totally new. We didn't scrap this from our asses, but this is something totally new. It's been on our mind for a little bit, but we're jumping into some college fantasy football. We're gonna give you some waiver wires. We're gonna talk about week 2. We're gonna give you some notable games for week 2. We'll bring some guys we're watching, some NFL, prospects while we're, doing college fantasy football. And we'll give you a college fantasy, not college fantasy, but a playoff thing with college. There we go. I've totally botched all that stuff, but yeah, we're good.
No, Jay got the point across there. Lots of goodies tonight. Kind of we're testing the waters here. We're going to see what works. Kind of do a little preview show. We know that a lot of these teams have already played a game, including that damn Florida State. We know they played 2, and those losers have lost 2 in a row. But and some people are just getting going with the year, so it's kind of a nice blend of everything. So a little bit of a preview show. Kind of take some of the stats from the first week and apply it to who you can possibly pick up before Saturday. Because I think there's one Friday game this week, but
Yeah,
2. So you've got a couple days before the first games kick off of the week. To, if you need to alter your rosters at all, we personally use Fantrax for a couple leagues that we're in. So we'll get on that as well. You know what you can do? You can go back and listen to any of the previous stuff that's archived. Spotify, YouTube. Jay, as always, makes a great playlist if you want to go watch some of our NFL stuff. But the college tie-in is that we've done a lot of college spotlights before, so we previewed a lot of the guys before they hit the NFL. And we're doing another show. Yeah, like LA Nice says, doing another show tomorrow night. So you actually get back-to-back out of rhythm. I know. We thought the same thing. Wow, never thought this was going to happen, but it did. Yep. So we're doing college tonight, NFL tomorrow, but everything kind of ties in. You're getting the same 2 characters, a lot of the same content. It's just different variables, different statistics, a lot more schools, obviously, in college than the 32 NFL teams, so a lot more ground to cover. And a couple other places you can find us as well. Instagram, we should probably get better about taking photos, but you can find a little bit on there. Yeah. Like Jay says, don't worry about it. You can find, DM us or you can get naked pictures if you text me. Just saying. I'll give those puppies out for free.
What?
But yeah.
now that's just dirty.
Yeah. Shameless plug. But yeah, we're a bunch of different platforms, and you can find us on those.
Yeah, just make sure your mic is working because it sounds like it's from your other microphone. Just make sure that's working.
Let me see here.
But while he's checking that out for just a moment, yeah, we're going to actually bring you. We're going to give you some waiver guys. We're going to talk about week 2.
There we go.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. It's StreamYard. Sometimes it'll mess up your audio. It'll like revert to. I don't know. It's just weird sometimes. Every once in a while, it'll kind of revert some stuff, and even though you don't change it, it like just changes like. It's like a ghost comes in and touches your computer, and your microphone is like totally way different. It's like, what the fuck just happened?
Well, maybe maybe my volume was down there. I'm not sure. I don't know what the hell anybody heard. But you missed my spiel. But
no,
I
give
the same thing every episode. I give the same thing every episode. I shamelessly plug the YouTube, talk up some of the other platforms we don't probably use as much as we should. Follow us on the X. You have anything to add to that?
No. Pretty much. Well, yeah. Follow us on X. We need to get Eli a little bit more followers. We need to make him. We need to get him a little bit more active in the X world. But yeah, go and follow me over at Auto Rhythm Fan. I pretty much just give you kind of the layout. Yeah, we're live right now. Yeah, we're that crazy mofo over there. But no, I pretty much kind of give you a what I do over there. I posted a college fantasy pickups, so if you're playing college fantasy, I got that over there on X. And then I also got it's kind of like a little of those like 1800s, like little flyers. I pretty much kind of recapped, kind of a couple of the games, kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown, a little bit on that, which is I'll work on doing that weekly. But yeah, you'll get some college fantasy waiver pickups over there out in X, and I post that also on our Discord too as well. So that's over in our Discord channel too as well. So if you're playing fantasy football, come on over there, check that out as well. So, but yeah, which direction do you want to go, man?
Well, driving along here. Well, I had a direction I did want to go, but as always, we kind of, we hit a little bump in the road. Oh, there's Bubs. He's back. Go Big Red. Oh, that's gonna be a good one. That Colorado, Nebraska, that might be a sleeper game. Like LA says, yeah.
I actually, honestly, I have to agree a little bit. I'm gonna be watching that. Well, was there any games that you saw over week one that you were kind of eyeing, or things that kind of impressed you a little bit? I guess let's go that way first.
Yeah, USC LSU. We'll start with that. Miller Moss. You know what? I became a fan in one game. I mean, he didn't tear him up for 6 touchdowns or anything crazy, but he looked good out there. I mean, this LSU is they're going to be a top 25 team all year. I don't have them making the playoffs. I mean, I'll get to that in a little bit. Don't you worry about that. And I'll unveil my 12 playoff teams. But LSU is going to be a competitive, at least 8-9 win team. So I mean, that's a good victory for USC. Lincoln Riley, I think, would have been on the hot seat had he not won that game. So LSU, the defense looked better than last year. I mean, that's kind of what held them back. I mean, their offense was lethal. I mean, we saw how many skill position draft picks they had. Jaden Daniels, Malik, Brian Thomas, all those boys. They went to the NFL. But, yeah, LSU, USC, I thought that was a really good game. Another one I was impressed by, Notre Dame, Texas A&M. Notre Dame, Riley Leonard, that might be an underrated transfer. That might be one of the underrated transfers of the year, right up there with Cam Ward, who I'm slobbering all over. Can't get enough of that. So Riley Leonard with Duke, he's just not, he doesn't make good decisions and all this other crap. It's like with that defense, I mean, Notre Dame's going to have a top 15 defense this year. I think they'll be just fine. Obviously they lost Estime and a few of the skill position guys, but Notre Dame, if everything goes right, I could see them easily winning 10 or 11 games and probably locking up a playoff spot. So Notre Dame looked good. Texas A&M, they just can't win the big one. They have this problem every year. Like they're always, they're going to beat the Vanderbilts and probably Florida's junk. So they'll beat teams that this year. But the upper echelon of the SEC, they're going to have issues with Oklahoma, Alabama, teams like that.
I believe Emmett's son played. I thought it was Mississippi, but it's actually he went to Texas A&M. So he's over there now. He transferred from Stanford to Texas A&M. So I'm like, ooh. But this he's actually a prospect for the NFL draft this year. But I mean, I don't know how good him transferring to Texas A&M is gonna like really rise his stocks. It's like, I mean, I guess the way I see it, with a lot of these transfers.
You're forgetting the most important thing. Some of that good NIL money, baby.
His dad probably told him, "Hey, get that NIL money, and you're good to go. Don't worry about going to the NFL draft.
Get it before. Get the money while it's hot before you end up like Frank Jr. End up getting cut by the Bills, or when you get to the NFL." We fumbled the intro there. I mean, it was a rough 5 minutes. That 2 thumbs down, but we you know what, like in the game of football, we picked up the fumble and we've been running with it ever since. We're at the 9-minute mark. I think we're firing on all cylinders again. We got 8 cylinders back in the truck. Did you see any of the Clemson and Georgia game? I turned it off. I turned it off after I was like the mid third quarter. I had it on the background when I was working out at the gym, and I was like, this is trash. Clemson just, everybody's been saying it. I don't mean to piggyback on other people's opinions, but I feel the same way. Clemson just, they're this holier than thou bullshit isn't working. Dabo Sweeney, the head coach, he's just like, well, I don't really want to delve into the transfer portal, and it's like, you're stupid, dude. You should have just retired then, or tried to get an NFL job, or tried to get a coordinator job, or it's dumb, dude. You can't compete like this. Isn't Clemson from 5 years ago. Like, this team can't compete like this. I'll be honest, I had them in Miami going neck and neck for the ACC this year, and now I'm just like, yeah, there's no way Clemson. No, Clemson will be lucky. Honestly, Clemson will be lucky to win 8 games.
Yeah,
not a good
actually, honestly, I did not watch. I didn't really watch any of the
You didn't miss anything. No, it was a lot of Carson Beck, a lot of Georgia defense, and that's pretty much going to be the story of the year. Dabo Weenie. Oh, Jared. Jared sighting. Yeah, exactly. He's Dabo Weenie. I don't want to do transfer portal. No, it's not right. I want to recruit. Motherfucker, this isn't 24. This isn't 2014. This isn't 2009. I mean, there's recruiting. It's a year-round business now, my man.
Like, it's like, I know we mentioned, like, a lot of people are like, oh, this transfer portal shit is kind of bullshit or whatever. But you have to think about that. This is good. It's good for the product too. It is.
It is.
I mean, kids that have.
Oh, go ahead, Jay. But I was sorry. I mean to cut. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, what I was trying to, we mentioned this before too. The transfer portal is actually a good thing for these kids. Some of these kids are, a little, I have a guy that I kind of mentioned. He was a G5. He went to, a Power 4 team, and this might help his draft stock. This might be he might be a day 2 or day 3 guy. So I mean, a lot of these, these transfer portals, might be a good thing for a lot of these guys that might actually get on the radar that weren't even seen before. I mean, even though
you look at excuse me, Cody Schrader. He was at a random school in Missouri, transfers to the main Missouri, to the Tigers, as a monster year. And now, I mean, I know he got cut by the 49ers, but now he's basically on the Rams roster, or be on the Rams practice squad. So, I mean, that's better than nothing. Cody Schrader would have been a random miscellaneous guy that just went by the wayside had he not been able to transfer, and like the old days where he had to sit out a year. And I don't know, Dabo, to go back to Dabo Swinney, he's living. It's like, dude, you're living in a bygone era. You just are. Nick Saban, he retired for a reason. Dabo Swinney should have joined him. It's like, dude, you won your 2 natties. You should have either retired or go. If you want some sanctity in this shit, go coach high school football. Pop Warner, whatever. This is the nature of the business now. If you're not going to partake in this stuff, you have no chance. And this team, you got to remember that, like them and Florida State, all these shitty. ACC is down this year, I think. Like, all these teams that were like bitching and moaning, well, we want to get to the SEC. They're trying to get out of their ACC contracts and shit. It's like, you have no fucking chance in the SEC. Are you kidding me? They could. I mean, even a middle of the road team, like, who am I thinking of? Like Arkansas. Like a lot of these teams would struggle beating Arkansas.
Yeah,
playing like this. I mean, you play like they did last week. They ain't beating Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas beat the Gators last year, so it's kind of like
they're like a random 6 and trying to think of like a random 6-6, 7-5 kind of team. It's like they would. I mean, I laugh at that when Florida State's trying to sue everybody, Clemson's trying to get out of their deal. At least UNC's got the basketball program, but like a lot of these schools were trying to get out of the ACC, and it's like, dude, you get what you wanted. Georgia is probably licking their chops. Like, yeah, come to the SEC. We'll be doing this shit once a year, every year.
But yeah, so since we have a lot to talk about too, I just wanted to. There was a couple games I watched, mostly the North Dakota and Colorado game. That was more intriguing to me. That was a pretty close game, and overall,
5 yards short. 5 yards short, Jay.
It was. So I thought overall Colorado looked like garbage. Bison, even though a smaller FCS team at heart, we knew that they actually won that game in all, because I mean Colorado didn't look, they couldn't really do anything besides pass. That was it.
They held to close out that point with you. They held their own. Like South Dakota State, I mean, they were just overmanned by Oklahoma State. I mean, that wasn't really a fair fight.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The Bison they were just as big as Colorado. I mean, we know it's arguable how good Dion is or that team is, but I mean, they were trying. I mean, they got every transfer they could get. I mean, but NDSU, those bodies were just as big. I didn't see any drop off. Like if you had told me that NDSU was in the Mountain West or something, you know, if they were like a Fresno State or a Boise, I wouldn't have known the difference. I mean, anytime North Dakota State wants to come up to the big leagues, even if they go 5-7 or 4-8 their first year, you know, and the main level FBS, I'm all for it. I mean, they could hold their own, because Colorado, I know they'll probably end up like 6-6 or something, but it's still a nice, you know, feather in the cap. Like, hey, we hung with a Big 12 team. I mean, till the end. I mean, we could have won that game.
Yeah. Most definitely. That would have been a big scrutiny for, you know, Colorado. Like, hey, you guys should have beaten these guys. They're a smaller team, yada, yada, yada. But I mean, yeah, think about you know, we had some nice prospects coming out from the Dakotas. So it's not, don't get that wrong. But
offensive line, all the quarter, we know Trey Lance is a loser. I mean, all the offensive linemen coming out of there. I mean, a few receivers.
Yeah, for sure.
Guy Watson from the Packers, we won't mention, who can't stay healthy, but he was a product of this school. So I mean, they're producing NFL talent left and right. I hope they make the jump. And I think SDS and I think South Dakota State too. If both Dakota schools made the jump, I think they'd get better. They'd get, you know, better recruits. They'd have more NIL money. I think eventually they'd be able to compete. I think it should be the same. So if Arizona, you know, like Arizona and Arizona State, they both move together. So if the Bison move, you know, the Rabbits move at the same time. I agree.
They go together.
They're tied at the hip.
Yeah. So I think if one moves, the other one goes with, you know, so that's kind of the deal, I think. And I think it'd be better off for our programs too, as well. I mean, you know, ND was kind of like the Alabama of the FCS. And now it's kind of flip-flopping a little bit. You know, the Rabbits are kind of getting that. They're kind of being that, you know, Alabama kind of FCS kind of bottom, you know.
Sacramento State's another FCS program on the rise. We know Montana, you know, like some of the programs that are bigger in FCS, but I think the two Dakota schools of that group, I think the two Dakota schools, especially NDSU, is ready for an FBS jump.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, most definitely. But the other one I think we liked watching was the Miami Gator game. I was eyeing that one.
Cam Ward. Oh.
Yeah. So there was some guy. There was, you know, some of the guys that I'll bring up on my, you know, kind of rookie kind of NFL draft guys. I'll mention. You know, let me get to that here as well. But I guess which direction do you want to go here, buddy? Do you want to do talk about some waiver guys? Do we want to talk about the playoffs? Do we want to talk about the guys?
We'll get into. I think we'll do some of the fantasy guys, and then jump into some of our predictions, you know, for the big scheme of things. Like, I have a Heisman guy. I'll see what Jay thinks on that. Few of the statistical category leaders who I think are gonna, you know, a few of them are kind of obvious. I mean, they had, you know, a few of them had monster week ones, but a couple other are a little, you know, dark horsey. But and then we'll get into my 12 playoff teams. I'll see, you know, if Jay's got a few other suggestions or if we agree on any of that. So we'll save that towards the end of the show. But I did want to follow up on the Miami, Florida. Billy Napier, the Florida coach, that program is junk. They are fucking. They went, you know, and poor Ricky Pearsall. Poor Ricky got, you know, shot in the chest. Luckily, Ricky's okay.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, the Florida program. I mean, like, what the fuck? You know, their players are, you know, they leave the program and they still get shot. Remember the Aaron Hernandez days and all this crap.
Oh God, like, talk about a repeat there. Jeez. You know what's funny? Did you see that they have a what is it? A thing on Hulu now, or I can't remember which one. They have a Hernandez, you know, like, you know, backstory.
Yeah, the documentary.
Yeah, documentary. So it's like, what the fudge, dude? So I actually might watch it.
Evil motherfucker. But you know, Billy Napier is going to get fired 2 5-7 seasons in a row. There's going to be another one. I mean, that SEC is lethal. I mean, they have. I forget. I was reading somewhere where they're like last 4 games, last 5 games they're just not. I mean, it's like murderer's row. I think the only winnable game in there is Florida State. I think it's like Georgia, Texas. It's like a who's who of the SEC. Florida's going to be lucky to win 5 games this year. I mean, it might hit rock bottom. They might fire this guy midseason. And Graham Mertz, you know, the kid they got transferred from Wisconsin, I think a couple years ago. He's not any good either. Like that team just sucks. And in Miami, like, we'll see when we get to, you know, exactly where I have them. but Miami's going to definitely be in that mix with the ACC. I think Miami has a really good shot at bringing home that title, which, basically means a trip to the playoffs. You win the fourth best conference in the country, you're going to the playoffs. So whoever, it's kind of like the NFC South, right? Like, the Bucks and the Saints, you win that shitty division and you're going to get a home playoff game. Like, you win the ACC, you're getting into the playoffs. So
congrats. Here's your Oakleys.
Yep. So it took Mario Cristobal a couple years, but I think he's finally got a program together that can compete nationally. We remember when he came in from Oregon, but Miami might be, a sleeper. I know they're ranked 12th or whatever, but like Miami might be a sleeper this year. I think they might hang in the top 15 all year.
Yeah, I kind of agree a little bit there. Miami was a team that I was going to be watching just because they had Cam Ward and Damian Martinez from the Beavers.
Martinez is a stud too.
Yeah. So, and he's, and I'll kind of talk about a couple of guys too as well. But yeah, he's a guy I'm going to be kind of watching this year to see if it kind of helps his stock or if his stock drops, for draft wise. But hopefully this will be more of a, help him out. His stock will hopefully maybe rise, but we'll see that. We'll see about that. So we have a long college season ahead of us. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys that'll be jumping up, jumping down, their stocks can go up or down. So it's, this is the fun thing about actually playing some, college fantasy football is because you can actually have these guys on your fantasy teams and you can actually kind of watch and see what they're doing. And it's a different way to act. I guess what I tell people is you kind of get into, even though there's like tons of teams out there, but it's kind of a learning process. It took me a little bit, but I think it comes down to, finding the happy medium between G5 and the Power 5 team or conferences, because some of these lower conferences can actually just put up as many numbers or the same fantasy points to these Power 5 or Power 4 teams.
There is no, I mean, it all pays the same, like we say. Like, it all pays the same. So, when we bring up some of our lists, or if I bring up, I think I'm going to have a studs and duds segment coming up here. You're going to see smaller conference guys mixed in with the big boys, the Big 10, the SEC, the Big 12. You're going to see blends because it doesn't make any goddamn difference. You can take a North Texas receiver and you can take McMillan from Arizona, and there'll be some weeks that North Texas receiver is going to have more fantasy value than T-Mac. It's going to happen. So it's a lot more of an inventory. You're not inventorying 32 teams. It's, I mean, we're north of 120. I mean, there's a lot of teams to follow, but I mean, it pays dividends because you can find a lot of hidden gems, and there could be a lot of weeks where you're like, what, who the hell is this? He had a 200-yard receiving game. NFL, you don't really get that. You'll get a Gabe Davis, or some random number 3 receiver or something that'll have a 100-yard game, a Trey Tucker, somebody like that. But college football, I mean, you could have a South Alabama guy, go out there and get 190 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. So that's the beauty of it. We know, obviously, we didn't have a week 1 show, because our preview of week 1, because this is our kind of our first episode doing this. So we're working out the kinks here. Hopefully hopefully if this goes well, this can be a recurring thing, because we've been talking about doing a college show for a while. So trying to, got the mic fixed here. Hello, got the mic fixed. Got some of the content down here, so we'll move forward here. I'm gonna, and this is what I would have done with week 1. I would have had some studs. So I like to have my top 5 lists from the NFL show, kind of bringing that over to the college. There's a few different things we'll do graphic wise. You notice maybe at the beginning the music. We use a different music, so it's going to be a different kind of show. Number 1, you know what? Why the hell not Cam Ward? Cam Ward, anybody? Oh boy. Ooh. Tore up Florida in week 1. 385 yards and 3 TDs, 33 yards rushing. He's got FAMU coming up. Miami's gonna kill them. I mean, that usually the way it works, obviously week 1 will be for these big program teams, week 1 will be a lightweight, somebody just to throw in the ring, just a 1-2 round match. Week 2 is usually they alternate. So it's week 2 that's the challenge, like with Texas. Texas kind of had a cream puff week 1. Now they got to face Michigan, right? Miami got rid of their so-called competition week 1. Florida out of the way. Political hybrid. Let's go Huskers. Yeah, we're gonna get into some Nebraska talk here too. I got Nebraska going to 2-0. I got them beating. I think it's gonna be a close game, but they're gonna beat Colorado. That's gonna happen. And me and my friend Bubs, who's tuning in tonight, we got tickets to the UCLA Nebraska game in November. So we'll be in Memorial Stadium too. So, and I wish Jay and his wife Molly could join us too. We gotta make that happen. Jay, we gotta all make a road trip down because this Nebraska team could be a sleeper. I mean, just putting it out there. I mean, this could be an 8-win team. Absolutely. Things go right. But yeah, Cam Ward, I got number 1 for week 2. Obviously, it's gonna be hard to get your hands on him. So a lot of these bigger name guys you're not gonna be able to really do any waivers on. I would say it's going to be more, parlays, DFS. You have any thoughts about Cam Ward being my number 1 going into? Yeah, I mean, FAMU's a cream puff, and Cam Ward looked great week 1. I think he's going to continue that.
Yeah. I actually tried to snag him in most leagues I could just in case, and that's the thing, you might not. The thing about it is you might not always use it. I think it's going to come down to good matchups. It all depends on who they're playing, and the thing about it was this week there was most of these, good teams they were actually playing these like G5 teams. So which is why you saw a lot of these, 52 to freaking 0 or 71 to 0. So this next week is going to be a little bit different.
Or Clemson.
Right?
A wannabe top 25 team. Get them out of here.
Yeah, but no, Cam Ward, love him. He's going to be a guy I'm watching most this year.
Yeah, I don't want to blow my load because I'm going to talk about him in a little bit. But yeah, Cam, this might end up being the transfer of the year. This might end up being huge. I mean, this is big. Well,
here's the thing: you just have to think about what he was doing with
Washington State.
Yeah. I mean, they were actually staying with with the Huskies. I mean, you think about when they had that that game. I mean, it was back and forth.
Yeah,
it looked like they were having.
Washington State was a top 25 team last year, and a lot of that was Cam Ward. And that was we were the Pac-12. You could argue that the Pac-12 was the best conference in college football last year. I mean, you could argue they were stacked. I mean, Arizona. We see how good Arizona's probably going to be this year. In the Big 12, but Arizona was there, and they were having some trouble. I mean, they're really good teams that struggled to win 8 or 9 games in that conference. I mean, that conference was brutal. I mean, Washington. We know they kind of shit the bed in the national championship game, but yeah, Cam Ward was going toe to toe with Penix and a lot of those heavy hitters in the Pac-12 last year. So Oregon, we remember how good Oregon's defense was. I mean, they were in that Oregon game.
Yep.
So Cam Ward won. T-Mac could be one every week. I mean,
I mean, hell, we were watching that game, and I'm like,
could not stop. He at this Airbnb I'm at, Jay put ESPN up in here for me, and I couldn't turn away from the TV. It's just catch, 30-yard catch, 25-yard catch, 12-yard catch, 40-yard catch. I mean, T-Mac they had no chance. And Northern Arizona doesn't either. I mean, he's going to do this. Yeah, it's part 2. Part dead. He's going to do the same shit this coming week. Over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. How are you going to stop this guy? I mean, it's going to take an NFL level corner. It's going to be, maybe somebody from Kansas State or Utah. Some of the, better Oklahoma State, one of the better teams in the Big 12 that maybe has a, NFL caliber corner that's going to be able to hang with this guy or Travis Hunter from Colorado. It's going to take a that level guy to slow this guy down. Cause I don't see any game this year where he should not be under 100 yards in any game this year. I mean, he's Jay with like receiver wise, he should be damn near fireproof.
I think they're I mean, we all want to kind of see that in fantasy, but I think there might be a few games, like a few teams that might kind of stop him down there. Especially some of these teams that are kind of ranked. I think there'll be a dud game in there for him somewhere in there. I mean, I can pull it up and take a look quick, but I think at least a dud game up in there somewhere. So I'm like, yeah.
Well, I just off the top of my head, like I said, the best corner I could think of that he's going to play is Travis Hunter from Colorado. That would be the one guy that might be able to break that streak. But I mean, this could be a record breaking college receiving year. I mean, this could or one of the top 10 seasons of all time, possibly. I know it's just one game; it's against inferior competition. I get it, but I got really excited because I couldn't turn it. That's an entertainer, man. You can't. Yo, what's up, fellas? Oh, yes. Look, is that the face off? Are they here? Are they?
Yes,
did all of them come? All of them come in one brigade. What's the word I'm thinking of? Brigade,
Yeah.
posse. Are they all here?
They came all on their pirate ships.
Yeah, they came with the pirate. Yeah, well, we're talking about some studs for week 2 coming up. So if you guys are doing any DFS, if you've got fantasy teams, me and Jay personally use Fantrax, so that's where a lot of the stuff comes. A lot of the information I'm going to parlay is going to be from Fantrax, because that's we do Dynasty and a best ball, so that's kind of where we reference that. So I had Cam Ward 1. T-Mac 2. And by the way, like and subscribe if you would. You're helping us out. You're helping the cause. This is our first college stream. So, yep. Jamie's saying, Jay, he read my mind. That multitasking again. He's great with that. You're helping us out, helping the cause. So, if you enjoy it, if you don't enjoy it, give it a thumbs down. I mean, we're not just some kind of reaction. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're feeling. Number 3, put Miller Moss. Why the hell not? He was tearing up LSU. I mean, that's a top 25 team. I mean, you could argue some of these other guys were tearing up cream puffs. I mean, I don't look at LSU like a cream puff. That's minimum 8-9 win team in the SEC. I mean, it's respectable. Utah State's coming up. I don't know. Maybe he found his next guy. Like maybe USC with the transfer portal did fix the offensive line. Maybe the defense is better with their new coordinator. Like maybe USC could make some noise this year. And Utah State's no match for them. I mean, USC. I mean, we remember last year 7-5 with Caleb, and it's kind of a shit show on defense. But
I thought on it
surprise some teams this year.
I actually thought USC was going to be horrible this year, but I'm like,
I did too. I thought they were going to repeat and be 7-5 again, or but going to the Big Ten. I mean, that's no joke. I mean, that's a jump in competition. Playing Penn State, Michigan, Oregon came with Washington. So I mean, there's a lot of stiff competition there. But the whole team looked good, and Miller Moss might. I don't know if it's too early to say, but he might be the next in line, of Kyler, Baker, Caleb, a lot of these Lincoln Riley quarterbacks that just kind of start tearing it up from the start.
Yeah, because he was, he was Alabama transfer, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Because I know the other kid from LSU, he was a transfer too or whatever. And he kind of played last year or whatever a little bit to kind of give us an eye of what LSU might look like. So, and there's a kid that I'm going to bring up too that is an LSU. It was a transfer from a G5 to the Power 4 team. So I'm going to be bringing him up. But I know you mentioned about. I was trying to look here quick. Arizona does play Kansas State and Utah.
Yep.
I think those might be. I think
Utah's got a great defense every year. That might be an opportunity to shut him down a little bit. And obviously Colorado with Travis Hunter. Those are K State is they're okay on defense, but not quite Utah. So we'll see. That it's different competition, yeah, but it'd be crazy if he got better in the offseason. I mean, he was already, if he had come out last year, even with that stacked receiver class, he would have been probably early second round pick.
Probably more than likely, but I think now with him actually being on his own, he's a total first rounder. As long as he doesn't get hurt, total first rounder for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, what's not to like? Miller Moss, I put 3. Number 4, because I'm shouting out, I'm giving some love to the Huskers. Giving a lot of love to Big Red. Dylan Raiola.
Yeah.
That boy was cooking.
That was the other game I wanted to watch a little bit too.
Yeah, and it was on in the back. I think it might have been Fox or
Yeah, I
FS1
think it was
or
Fox.
something.
Yep, FS1. I was watching a little bit of that too, and I actually watched the rerun of that game too. I'm like, oh. Well, here's a crazy funny thing is because I actually I follow
First game,
one of the
238, 2 touchdowns, and
Yep.
he was sitting in the fourth. I mean, it was an easy day at work for the freshman.
Yeah. No, I was actually watching a little bit of that game before I had to jet out, and I'm like, God, I just want to sit here and watch this game. It was funny because I tweeted out, I'm like, I wish I had 6 TV screens so I can actually watch this game, and that game, and
We need
because I
to
was
make
like,
that happen. You'd be like one of those gaming guys from or like security guy that's got like 12 different TVs. We can rig that for you. They look good. I mean, we were talking Nebraska up a little bit earlier. I know it's UTEP, but they're going to beat Colorado this weekend, and Raiola can show what he's really made of because he's going to go toe to toe with Shador.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is that they actually got in a lot of like 5-star, 4-star recruits into with the Huskers because I've been kind of watching them in this off season a little bit. So I was like, ooh, I kept seeing stuff on their social media sites, and I'm like, ooh, okay, I'm like, dude, this is looking tasty. I'm like, oh. So yeah, so the Huskers is a team I'm watching this year to see if they actually can outbeat their record what they did last year, and actually it looks like they got a good crowd of guys around them this year that can I think he's a freshman or junior who actually had 115 yards, a touchdown. He looked real damn good. I think he's like 6'4" or something to 6'2". Can't remember exactly, but he looked damn good too. And those guys were on connection too as well. So I'm like,
yeah, they got a lot of young players on Nebraska. I mean, it's the whole team is a dynasty if you think about it. Matt Rule, we know what happened with the Panthers, but he was damn good at Baylor. I think he's gonna be damn good in Nebraska. Second year there, I think things are finally getting turned around, and it's good to see, man. It's been shitty watching the last probably 20 years in Nebraska football. I mean, I think they had a couple years with Ndamukong Suh, and a couple. They've had some NFL players, but I mean, for the most part, we're used to Nebraska. We grew up. Nebraska was competing for national championships, winning at least
fuck yeah,
at least 9-10 games a year. So it's good to kind of see, hopefully Raiola can kind of and Matt Rule can kind of bring everything back. But in terms of like how it applies to Colorado for week 2, Colorado, other than Travis Hunter, they can't stop a nosebleed. I mean, Travis Hunter's a stud, but the other side of the field is cringe.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think Matt Rule's going to take advantage of that with Raiola. I could see his first 300-yard game. I could see him and Shador, in a shootout, like a.
I know. It'd
be great for TV. Why the hell would you not want to see probably a future first-round pick and then a first-round pick next year? I mean, Raiola and Shador going at it for the first time. I mean, that's must-watch TV. I'm locked in on that. I think we have the bottom scroll there. We listed a lot of the games on the bottom scroll, what network they're on, what the point spread is. So follow that, and I'll lead you to that game. But that's one of the games I'm looking forward to this weekend, Nebraska, Colorado. You know what? The last guy, Jay? Corey Tucker. Not Corey Tucker, Corey Rucker. I was thinking of Chris Tucker from Rush Hour. I do not understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. Corey Rucker, Arkansas State, week 1, 9 catches, 179 yards and a touchdown. See, I'm trying to find some guys off the beaten path because I know for sure you can pick him up if you're doing college dynasty or year-to-year league. You can easily go and pick up Rucker. He's available in pretty much any kind of format, any kind of league. Tulsa, that's another bad secondary, bad defensive team that can't stop a nosebleed. So this momentum could continue. Have you ever come across Corey Rucker at all from Arkansas State?
No, actually, I haven't, honestly, because
we're all learning about Corey Rucker today. Obviously, it would have been easier to go with a more established name, but we wanted to find a hidden gem to kind of close out the top 5. And of these 4, like Raiola and Dynasty, you're not going to get your hands on him. I mean, the guy was a 5-star number 1 recruit. I mean, you're not going to get him. Miller Moss, after that bowl game last year and after week 1, you're probably not going to get your hands on him. T-Mac, not a chance. Cam Ward, not a chance. So Rucker of the 5 would be the most likely guy that you could go out and grab for your team for week 2 for sure. And we're going to do some duds here. Terrian Stewart from Bowling Green. Why, Eli? Who's Terrian Stewart? Well, he tore it up week 1, and had a big week. I think I had. Oh yes, there it is. He was one of the top 5 fantasy running backs for week 1. And not going to be the case of week 2. We playing Penn State. We know how good Penn State's defense is. I mean, that's what Penn State's known for. I mean, they're pretty much Iowa with better players. I mean, year in, year out, Penn State has always got a top 10 defense. It's going to continue here. Bowling Green ain't got no chance. So if Terrian Stewart was a random guy you were looking at, like, oh, he had monster week, week 1, maybe I can pick him up. Smaller school guy, blah blah. Yeah, I can see this getting ugly. This could be a 49-3 kind of game. You have any? You ever? So see, Jay's learning too here. Let me know if you've come. I know you know Loveland. I know you know Loveland from Michigan.
I got him as my tight end. So
yep, Higgins. I know you know Higgins from Iowa State. But I think some of these other guys might be a little more hidden stash than the mainstream big conference guys. But trust me, Penn State's defense, we that's something that's universal. We can all agree on. Penn State's defense will shut down just about anybody. I mean, it's going to take a Blake Corum. It's going to, that level of running back to be able to put up stats on this team. So, I saw him on the waiver wire. I'm like, so he's available. I wouldn't kick the tires on him this week. If he's available for week 3, week 4, look into that. Yeah, Colston. That's a tongue twister. Colston.
Loveland's more like
I am McLovin.
I am McLovin. Yeah, I am McLovin. That's gonna be his new name. I am McLovin. No, he was the leading receiver for Michigan in week 1. So
kind of surprising, honestly, because I was hoping Edwards would have ran out with the backfield there, and that damn parlay. I thought he would at least have a little bit more receiving yards than what he did have, and I was like, what? This guy's supposed to be their leading back, and I mean, I guess they were trying to get some other guys in there, but I guess that goes to show why Loveland was their number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, it's crazy what a drop off in the quarterback isn't as good this year. The running back room isn't as good. You ain't got no Roman Wilson. They're hurting in Michigan, and I think Texas is going to win in a low scoring game. I think Texas is gonna go into Michigan and win. Loveland, Texas has got a good defense too. I don't see him putting up more than maybe a couple catches, maybe 3 catches for 36 yards or some kind of statistical week like that. So I know Loveland would have been a lot of people's starting tight end, maybe in their fantasy league. But I would if you can, I would bench him this week and avoid him.
I'm starting him no matter what.
Well, you gotta do it to it.
Right.
Another hidden guy. Northern Illinois, Ethan Hampton, quarterback, had a big week 1. He had 5 touchdowns. That ain't gonna happen against Notre Dame. You notice the theme here. A lot of probably top 10, top 15-ish teams that have great defenses. It's a common theme here. Let's go down the list. You ain't throwing no 5 touchdowns on Notre Dame. He'll be lucky to throw 1. Notre Dame's gonna kill NIU. It's gonna get ugly. So if you haven't heard of him, you might want to wait till week 3 to revisit him, to maybe pick him up on the waivers. And a lot of these guys are on the waivers. So a lot of these, Loveland, not so much. He's like we mentioned, he's probably a lot of people starting tight ends, but Hampton and Stewart are definitely waiver wire guys. I would just bypass them this week for sure. And that goes to Jay for Mario Williams. No, not the big Super Mario, not the big defensive end from the Texans. Remember Mario Williams from the Texans and Bills back in the day, the sack artist. Not quite him. But Tulane, this ain't Mekhi Hughes. Okay, that's the only guy they got. I mean, Tulane, the team. supposedly they're only a 10-point underdog to K-State, but I could see this one getting ugly. I think K-State's going to roll them. Mario Williams had a big week 1. I don't think he's going to do the same, just to jump up a competition. I mean, K-State's a top 20 team, so I could.
They'll probably end up losing this one. They're probably ground and pound. I mean, Williams might.
I think Hughes
catches here and there,
Jay,
but
Hughes is always a good play. I mean, Hughes is a guy, from this Tulane offense you could start at all times. But I think the auxiliary, what a word I'm thinking of, ancillary cast, the cast of characters around him, I wouldn't touch any of them. So K-State's going to roll there. So we got Stewart, Hampton, Williams, no go. Loveland, you're probably going to end up, like Jay said, you're probably going to end up starting him anyways. So take your, buyer beware, take your chances there. DFS, I might avoid all 4 of these guys. I might avoid even Loveland. If you got to start him, but DFS probably avoid. And then probably the best of the bunch, Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. And it, more or less, it's just Iowa's defense. I tried to pick a lot of better defensive teams because it's hard to find. We only have one week of evidence so far, so it's hard to find duds. So you kind of go with the tried and true. You go with the proven defenses. Do you have any shares of Higgins on any of your teams, or were you thinking about using him possibly in DFS this weekend?
I don't know. I if you think about it, this could be a good game where Higgins, if he's, Higgins might be a guy that they might be thrown to quite a bit. He guy, with the target share of, his target share and receptions, he might get a touchdown there if they're, down to the, 10 or 15 yard. This guy is tall, and he's a guy I'm gonna mention too here a little bit later too, just a little bit more into him. But
I thought I saw he had like 19% of the target share.
Yeah, I think he had quite a bit, but I know he had like he didn't have like 100 yards, but he actually, he had like 70, 80 and a touchdown. So so he had an all right, decent start to, him kind of being the wide receiver 1 there. So he kind of had a decent start for, to the game, to the week, or not week, for the year. But I think
it's like we were confused. It's like the NFL preseason. They screwed us up because they were like, well, we're this is considered week 1, but it's actually week 2. Like, just stop with this nonsense. Florida State had 2 games in like 10 days or something crazy.
Yeah.
It was
just have no week 0, no week 0.
No week 0. Yeah,
just go to straight week 1 and just fucking call it good. All this.
just confused everybody. But yeah, Jaden Higgins. Another guy, like, if you got to start, I mean, I know the name value and he's been a productive player. I get it. But DFS for sure, I'd avoid all 5 of these guys. So I'm passing on.
I think that Iowa and Iowa State game is going to be could be a
I think it's going to be a good one. It always is.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to pop on over to this here quick here.
Ooh.
Yes. So pretty much here, these are my, if you guys follow me on Twitter, I actually posted this out on Twitter, like either Sunday night or one of those days. I can't remember. It was Sunday night, Monday morning, one of those 2 days. But Jonah Coleman tore up freaking, pretty much tore it up this last weekend. 127 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm like, damn, dude, this guy. He was a transfer from Arizona, and I'm like, dude, this guy's he was looking pretty good. Because I was curious too about Washington, because they lost tons of people. So I'm like, dude, this team might be kind of shitty. But I'm like, wait. Dude, they actually look pretty fucking good.
The running back Johnson, who I think the Titans drafted, I think he had cut him. But so, I mean, he was an NFL. He was good enough to be drafted in the NFL. So I mean, they lost him, and Coleman picked up. I think he would have been better off staying at Arizona. I mean, that Arizona team could definitely use him to have a stud back like this. But Washington, they're off the radar this year. They lost their coach and lost Penix. The stud receiver, the 3 receivers, the running back. I mean, they depleted, but I know it's just Eastern Michigan, but aren't they playing like Eastern Washington this week? I'm trying to remember who they were playing.
Yeah, it's got right. It says at Eastern Michigan right at the bottom there.
Or Eastern Michigan, yeah, that's another win.
So I pretty much I kind of put the team, who they're playing, and why. So Damian Ward, we were just talking about North Texas. I actually had a couple North Texas guy last year. I think I'm trying to remember who it was, but I think he ended up getting drafted. But Damian Ward, they're playing. I can't remember it's green because it was good. So the team is kind of hidden in there. So I'm just apologize about that. But they're playing another soft team, so this guy's going to probably more likely eat. So he's a guy you want to take a look at. I actually snagged him off a couple of my waiver wires already.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You motherfucker.
Damn right.
Yeah.
And then Nick Nash is another guy who I actually snagged off the waiver wire too. San Jose is a kind of a G5 team, but they're kind of hit and miss. I was going to kind of pop them up too, but they're playing. I think it's Air Force, I believe. So they're playing in conference. I think the AAC, since Air Force moved over to the American Conference now. So I'm like,
Air Force has got a Air Force got a mid-pack defense. I mean,
that was funny because I was actually looking at it, man. I'm like, one of those teams were just horrible. They couldn't move the ball up or down. One of those teams, I think it was maybe Air Force, who couldn't do nothing. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? When I was going through the conferences and stuff like that, I'm like, dude, this is crazy. So Nick Nash, he's another guy to pick up. I snagged him up already. Jimmy Horn, 198 yards, a touchdown. They're playing Nebraska. I think he's a guy to take a look at because that's going to be a good game as well. They pretty much already a heavy passing team already, the way they looked at from week one. And then
Jimmy Horn was, if he can keep that up, I mean, that's really Colorado's only chance is on offense. I mean, they're just gonna have to put up 45 points a week. But if you got Horn, Travis Hunter, and Shador as your big three,
yep.
I mean, sign me up. I mean, that'll keep them competitive. I'm not sure how many games they'll win. But yeah, and Jimmy Horn, if he's out there, and that's another guy, Jamie. Yeah, that's another guy he's gonna pick up over me.
No, probably not, because
our Fantrax league. But
yeah, no, I probably won't. I'll probably stay away from him. As well, because I picked up a couple other wide receivers. We met Eli mentioned Terrion Stewart. I kind of liked him. I mentioned to Eli, I'm like, dude, you gotta check this guy out, dude. I mentioned to him he looked like I can't remember who I mentioned.
Just not against Penn State.
Yeah, but pick him up, put him on your bench. That's the way I see it. He looked good. I mean, he was playing a smaller team, but it's like, my God, he looked stout, dude. He was running over people, and I was, so he's a guy I was kind of eyeing too, but I'm like, yeah, I kind of stayed away from just because Penn State there. Kyrene White, 131, 2 touchdowns, and they play USC this week, so I think this is going to be interesting because they got I can't remember the other kid name that is supposed to be pretty Royal. He's supposed to be their number 1 guy, so I think White might be their number 2 guy on that team. So they got a couple good wide receivers over there. If you need a guy like him,
could have been a big week 1, but it's worth kicking. You start to get deeper into the waiver pickups here, especially a receiver. Like some of these are worth kicking the tire on. You don't know how good Utah State's offense is going to be. Even a number 2 receiver, like Jay was saying, if they got a couple good ones, snag them up.
Yeah, and they'll put up points too for sure. And then we got Jack Beck, because we watched that TCU game. And he had 139 and 1 touchdown because the TCU couldn't do anything else besides just pass the damn ball to their tight ends. There was nothing else going on. I was like,
they kept. I'm like, that's the guy. That's the waiver guy. I mean, that's the guy that got Jay. We were watching that. We were watching the TCU game together. I kept saying Beck. I'm like, you got to stop Beck.
Yeah.
So they're playing a smaller team here too. I think that might be Liberty. I'm not sure exactly, but if you need a tight end, Jack Beck is the guy you want to take a look at there. And then Dijon Stanley, he looked pretty damn good. He looked great. I was watching, I was like, ooh, this guy. So if you kind of need a running back, because last year, they were mixing up with their quarterbacks, and now that that freaking Cam Rising is their quarterback now. So I think this offense is going to look going to look good without having to swap out quarterbacks here and there. So I think they're set to go. And Dijon was kind of like he's kind of a mixture of a wide receiver and running back, kind of a dual threat kind of guy. So he was kind of available in those kind of sets. So I mean, if you needed him as a wide receiver or something like that, but I know they had him as dual eligible. And they're playing Baylor. So I can't remember the background if I think these were pretty like low scoring games when it came to Baylor, because Baylor is all right, but they can stop a team, but then they kind of give up at the end.
And Dijon Stanley too. Jay was saying he's not exactly the feature back, but I mean he catches 150 yards out of the backfield, and now we're talking. I think he had like 3 catches, 150 yards, a couple touchdowns. I mean the carries weren't there, but if he can give you stuff through the receiving game, Cam Rise, it's amazing what having probably a draftable late round quarterback will do for an offense. Like Utah actually they have their quarterback back, and I think they're gonna be plenty of trouble. Stanley, worth kicking the tires on early because like we were saying, he's number 8 on the list here, so you can pretty much get him in any size league. I mean, he's definitely an available guy.
Yep. And the last and final guy is Devion Dampier.
The Lobo, New Mexico.
Yep. They had a good game, week 0. And then he had another good game here week 1. So I mean it sucks that Mexico State gave up, got beat by Montana State, but I mean they had like 30, it was like 35 to something, and I think they lost. They gave up like freaking 30 some odd points to a FES team or FCS team. So, and he's kind of that dual threat kind of guy too. So I mean he had 115 or 15 for 130 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 260 yards passing with 3 touchdowns. So he had 5 total touchdowns this last weekend. So he's on bye this week, but just a name to kind of mention, kind of look at what he's doing for week 3. So he's kind of a name to kind of put it back in your mind just in case if you need a guy that who can manage some good points for you. He's kind of dual threat, a smaller school team, but a guy to kind of take a look at.
Yeah, and if you got a roster spot, I mean, don't let the bye scare you. If you got a roster spot and you want to jump the gun early a week, that's fine because you never know when another vulture is going to come in. So, and if you lose out on some of the higher ranked guys, that's not a bad option at quarterback. There's no like Jay was mentioning, like this is the only quarterback on the list. So
yeah. So just real quick here, even though they might be in the Conference USA, Liberty, Western Kentucky, and New Mexico were kind of the 3 highest team in that conference last year. For far as fantasy point wise, they 294, almost 300 fantasy points spread around throughout the whole team. So take a look at New Mexico State, and there was a guy who actually came who Mexico State played. I think it was Arizona this last weekend. Merritt was a not Merritt. Yeah, I think it was Merritt. He was actually a Lobo. He had a touchdown against his rival team, New Mexico. So it was a nice, sweet, bitter victory for him. So it was a nice victory. But just an overall quick thing there. Just wanted to kind of give you guys.
I mean, Liberty was head and shoulders above any other team, as they should have been. I mean, they were the top 25. And they're going to be a sleeper this year for the playoff. They will be if they dominate. If Salter dominates like he did last year, and you get some help with some of the other skill position guys, Liberty's going to be a handful for sure.
Yep.
And some of the other teams, New Mexico, I like New Mexico's offense. It's not our team.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned Damian.
Liberty and New Mexico, I think, are the 2. Western Kentucky's solid, year in, year out, but I think of the 2 teams that you could pop on offense, I'd say New Mexico and Liberty.
Yeah, and these are just smaller conferences that you can kind of take an eye at, take a look at, kind of see who they're playing, and if you need a guy to swap in and out that week, hey,
fucking UTEP. Yeah, we'll see how revamped that Nebraska defense is, having to deal with Shedeur in Colorado this weekend. Because UTEP is that's horrible. I mean, the rest of these are like smaller schools. Like UTEP has been not a huge school, but I mean everybody's heard of UTEP. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's why it was funny when I was kind of going. It was funny when I was going through some of these. I'm like, what the fudge? I'm like, no way. I'm like, there's some teams just blew me off the charts. I'm like, teams are just very horrible. They couldn't really. There was like no offense at all. I'm like, what the fudge? So it just kind of blew me out of the water with some of these teams. I'm like, dude, this is nuts. All right, that was my waiver pickups for the week. So those things you can check out there.
And a lot of these I'm gonna be piggybacking. I'm piggybacking on J4. That's all, folks. I got a stuttering problem tonight. I want to get some hard candies. Fantrax pickups, and this is probably universal for any college, but format platform you're on. Pretty universal waivers. A lot of them are similar to what Jay had. Nick Nash is my number 5 from San Jose State. He was on Jay's list. I put Dijon Stanley at number 2. Utah's running back. John Mateer, I think he'd be like the number 1. Oh, you got that beautiful bundle of joy. I think that's the first time that she's been on the podcast. You want to introduce her to the Out of Rhythm?
She is a survivor. It was funny because she was actually in a storage unit that I was next to me, and some random dirtbag just tossed her in some storage, or they just left her out there. And
place in hell for pieces of shit like that.
Yeah, so I pretty much saved her, took her home, and she's been with us ever since.
So she's a wildcat, but she's a man. I know she's always friendly when I'm over there. So unlike your dog.
No, she's coming around. She was pretty much when I was getting show stuff ready. She was sitting on my lap, and so she's coming around. Yeah.
So I think she would agree with me. John Mateer, Washington State. Yeah, I'm digging it. And it's hard to replace Cam Ward. I mean, Cam Ward's a beast. But Mateer, young sophomore guy, I think he'd get the job done. Tore it up week 1. And we'll see. Washington State might be I know it's like a 2-team conference, but Washington State might be a sleeper this year, and he might be the head of the table here. Maybe a 3,200 yard, 25 touchdown kind of season, which would be solid. But I mean, that's more than what people were expecting from Washington State for sure after losing Cam Ward. So I put Mateer 1. Mentioned Stanley. I won't go over that again. 2. Riles. I tried to put a tight end in here because tight ends don't get a lot of love in these waiver lists. Riles from ECU. Jay's a big ECU fan. He had a big game. I think he led ECU in receptions and yards last week. So see if he can keep that up. He's been one of the hot pickups. We know tight ends are kind of hard to come by, especially backups. They're kind of hard to come by.
I think that's the other thing too when we kind of look at it's going to be kind of a hit and miss with a lot of these tight ends too, because when I was playing last year, I was trying to think, okay, well, I need to find a tight end. So it's kind of like, well, what tight end has kind of been what? So going forward, I'm going to be kind of looking at what tight ends are kind of irrelevant and which tight ends are kind of like non-irrelevant. What teams are kind of tossing more to the tight ends compared to a lot of their wide receivers. So I'm going to be kind of watch that a little bit more too, as well as this upcoming year, because it's I think it's going to be the kind of, I kind of noticed the same trend. It's funny, the tight end that's being used and a tight end that's not being used.
A tight end not being used is a tight end being abused.
Oh my
Wham,
God.
bam.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah. Desiree Riles, worth some of the, like I said, a lot of these guys low key worth kicking the tires on, especially as a possibly a backup to a better one, or if you're in a desperate situation and you like, hey, this guy could have a monster year, kick tires on. TJ Finley, quarterback from Louisville. I don't know. I mean, Louisville's got some players. I could see
they do got one wide receiver out there. I think it's Lacey or Cadley. I can't remember his name offhand, but he's supposed to be a prospect for this upcoming year.
Yeah, I like Finley. I think he's a dual threat guy. I think that could be a big time. I think it'd be a big time pickup in week 1. I think you guys would thank us week 8, week 9 as we get more into the conference season. I think Louisville, Yep, give us a like if you're watching. There he goes again with that multitasking. Finley, I put it 4, and then Nick Nash. Won't mention that again. Jay already went over that. Nick Nash had a big week 1. I don't know if he can do 170 yards every week, but in that offense, he could put up average probably 90 yards a game, throughout the course of the year. So I think he's worth it. I think if you can get
if they're
1,000-yard receiver, he could easily be a 1,000-yard receiver.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
most definitely.
So, I thought he was drinking something else. He had some H2O there, but
Yeah, just water. Yeah,
some of
just
the
drinking
good
some
stuff.
water. Yep.
Uh,
All right.
Yep. Those are the 5 pickups, and Jay mentioned his as well. So we gave you a bunch of names. A lot of these guys have probably, unless you're a huge college football nut, probably never heard of half these guys. So we kind of introduced a few of these guys to you. And we'll do a bigger. Now I sound like you tonight. We switched positions. I'm the one mothering my words.
Uh,
We'll try to do deeper dives and maybe do a few profiles too. If we get, make this a recurring college show, we might do some deep dives into some
yes.
guys. Do
So
profiles, kind of like we do with the NFL.
Yep. So any of you guys that are watching right now, this will actually be on our college podcast, not our actual Out of Rhythm podcast. So this will be a separate podcast compared to our NFL fantasy and whatnot. So this will be on its own separate channel. See now you
I
you
know
did it to me. What the hell is going on tonight?
We're working out the kinks tonight. I think what he's trying to say is, yeah, we're gonna have, so it's same channel, but it's 2 different shows. So it'll be Out of Rhythm. It's all under the Out of Rhythm banner, but it's kind of like with like Donovan does, the split. Donovan does his baseball show, and that's kind of under our Out of Rhythm banner, but it's a separate entity. This was what this college is going to be. It's going to be a separate entity from the NFL. So, if you're tuning in, you're expecting us to talk about NFL, that's coming tomorrow night. So that's coming tomorrow night. We gave some college waivers tonight, gave some studs and duds for the upcoming weekend. Jay mentioned that earlier in the show. There's 2 games Friday, so you got a few days to get your DFS stuff, or to get your fantasy teams in order for the FBS. Now we're gonna make some predictions, and we were gonna do this last week, granted, but before the games really kicked off, we know there's a game into the year. Florida State's case, it's 2, or Georgia Tech, they both played 2, but notable games this week. Yeah, we'll go over that again. Yep, Colorado, Nebraska in Lincoln. I got Nebraska. Who do you got? Yeah, we'll see who we got here. I got Nebraska winning that one. Who you got, Jay?
I got Nebraska.
I think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be 30. I think it's gonna be 34-26. Baylor and Utah. Of course, Utah's gonna roll Baylor.
Oh, I forgot to put. No, it's not the Lobos. It's not Lobo UNC. But I think this was going to be.
You put the wrong. Oh yeah, you put the.
Well, I was going to change that.
More wolf pack. It's all one wolf pack.
I think this one's going to be a close one, but NC State's got some good guys there too. I mean, they got some good wide receivers there. There's a good wide receiver. I can't remember his name offhand. But
NC State's all around. NC State's got an all around team. Tennessee, Nico, the he's right up there with Raiola in terms of like the kind of phenom freshman quarterbacks. So Nico, this might be an upset. Nico might run into his first problem here. I got NC State pulling the upset.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I'm gonna go Tennessee there. And then the last and final one here, I thought was going to be kind of interesting. We got Boise State, who pretty much, they're a high scoring offense. They got, Ashton Genty there, who actually just loves running the ball. He's one of their playmakers down there. And then we got the Ducks. So I mean, they got
Oregon,
lot.
Jay, Oregon dropped. I mean, they were number 3 last week. Number 3 or 4. They dropped to 7. They didn't look good at all. I think they won by a touchdown. So Oregon looked rough week 1. I think Dylan Gabriel gets on track this week, though. I think James. I think the whole cast of, our main man Tez. I think everybody gets on track. Oregon's offense. Genty's going to do his thing. I mean, Boise's going to be competitive, but Oregon's just going to overmatch them. I got Oregon winning. I think the final score is going to be, I'd say, 44-27.
Yeah, I go Oregon too as well. I just thought this was going to be a good, like, with both offenses being kind of more of a high scoring offenses. I think there was a good game to kind of watch. I mean, I know Boise State might lose this one, but I just think it's a good, a good game to actually sit down and
measuring
watch.
stick game. Good
Yep,
measuring stick
yep.
game for Boise, and a lot of the we know probably the 4 main conferences. If you want to call the Pac-12, I mean, Washington State's in the mix too. The Pac-12 is still a conference, I guess. So
Yep.
Maybe if they won, they could get that extra playoff spot, or it could go to a Mountain West champion or Conference USA, AAC. So Boise will definitely be in the mix. So this is an important game because Oregon, we assume if everything goes right, it's going to be a playoff team. So Boise, it's a measuring stick game to kind of see where they hang with the big boys.
Yep, for sure. I think that calls it. Then so we'll pretty much now we'll kind of give you I'll give you my rookie watch NFL guide drafts that I'm gonna watch. I'm watching for this year, and then Eli will pop up his kind of like his Heisman and all those kind of ideals, and we'll give you the playoff things. The playoff.
We affectionately called it Eli. We affectionately called it Eli's bullshit.
All right, so these are guys I'm going to be watching this year. Jaden Ott, I actually got some of his stuff, his stats and stuff written down here real quick. We use Draft Buzz for kind of for all of our. It's a great layout for if we're looking at NFL prospects and stuff like that. Yep. So it kind of gives a good layout there. I came across that a couple years ago, but just great information right there. Jaden Ott, ranked number 7. He can break through tackles. He's got that nice burst to take it to the house. Mostly he's your cowbell kind of guy. He doesn't really catch a whole lot out of the backfield, but he's a guy that I'm kind of going to be kind of watching. He had so he's not your dual threat guy, but more your cowbell. 1,200 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns. He had a 2 in the passing yards, so he's a guy I'm going to be kind of watching a little bit this year, coming out from the Bears.
I would like him to develop, though. Be able to catch. If he could even catch 200 yards receiving, just prove to the NFL scouts, like, hey, I am capable. I mean, this isn't going to be a Blake Watson situation where he's just a freak catching 500 yards out of the backfield. But I think Ott needs to prove to pro scouts, like, hey, I can catch a few balls out of the backfield. I think maybe a 19-20 catch season, something like that, I think would help his cause.
Yeah, I think so. And then Marcus Carroll, number 36 running back. Maybe a day 3 guy, possibly. I mean, he transferred from Georgia State. Then he transferred to Mizzou. I know. He's got some talent, but a smaller team to a kind of more of a bigger, Power 5 team, Power 4 team, or as you can say, maybe a day 3 guy, or I think maybe a day 3 guy. But he had 1,300 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns. Not a dual threat guy. Pretty much another cowbell guy. He can break through an O-line pretty nice. He's pretty hard to actually tackle in the open field when he does get out there. But he actually had one nice game run against LSU, which was a nice overall. Just like, damn, dude. I mean, I actually had him a couple of times last year in my fantasy. So I mean, stout guy. I just want to see him. I think I want to see him evolve a little bit more with Mizzou. I want him to see a little bit more in the pass catching.
Yeah, and they had the same issue with Cody Schrader last year. He was just ate it up in the middle, but you'd like to see for like the next level. Yeah, like Jay was saying, another guy like Ott, we'd like him, catching at least 20, 22 balls, somewhere in that range to kind of prove to pro scouts.
Yeah, and then Xavier, I think it's what Respro, like a Rest Pro. He's a pro already.
Restripo.
Yeah. So
like fucking Sylvester Daffy.
I kind of he's kind of like when I kind of seen him play, he's kind of like a Cole Beasley. He's a better version of Cole Beasley.
He has some guns.
Yeah, so he's pretty much a better version of Cole Beasley. He had 993 yards, 5 touchdowns, and I think he might be a slot guy. I'm not sure. So not quite 1,000 yards. Kind of your minimum. Kind of like a wide receiver 2, but I mean believe he's their wide receiver 1 there. And then the other guy, we'll skip Higgins. CJ Daniels, he's 6'2", 205, transferred from Liberty to LSU. He's kind of another guy I'm going to kind of keep my eye on over there because we all love those LSU products. wide receivers coming out, besides freaking Terrence Marshall, but I think he got traded.
even that bum got a second job. 49ers picked him up or something.
So you can kind of tell where Liberty, they were kind of they're one of the better G5 teams out there that their offense is electric. 988 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's ranked wide receiver 38. So hopefully, I kind of want to see with him transferring over to LSU. I want to hopefully see that his stock maybe rises a little bit. He's decent intermediate. He's a decent intermediate catcher. I think he needs a little help with his route skills, but maybe a day 2 or day 3 guy. So
and that's exactly why I think he went to LSU, is just to prove to the scouts, like, hey, I can do this at a bigger school too. I can do this against SEC corners. I can, because at Liberty, he would have been just fine at Liberty. He would have tore it up this year with Salter.
But if you wanted to make it to the to the big dogs, you could have to go up to the next step.
Yeah, yep. You got to do this against Oklahoma's corners and Alabama's corners. And yep, totally get it.
All right, so Jaden Higgins, 6'4", 215. Ranked number 20 in the prospects of wide receivers. He's a good overall solid wide receiver. I think I was wondering, it's like, is he related to T Higgins? Is that his cousin or something? So just a pun in there. So I was just like, I was like, hey, is this guy related to him? But it's so I think he's a wide receiver 1, but if he ends up transitioning over to the NFL, maybe a good decent wide receiver 2. He had 769 yards, 5 touchdowns, so really not a whole lot of production, but he might be good in that wide receiver 2 aspects.
I could see him, Jay. I could see him taking that next step though, like getting, he's at 769 last year. I could see him, 950, 1,000 yards, kind of taking that next jump to, kind of not gaudy stats or anything, not 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns or anything crazy, but maybe 950 and 8 touchdowns or something.
Yeah, for sure. And the last and final guy here is KJ Jefferson, who actually transferred to UCF, played with Arkansas down in there. So my overall thoughts is he's a better version of Aiden O'Connell. He has some rushing upside a little bit, not a whole lot, but he can scramble. He can scramble if he's in trouble. I mean, he's got a nice arm.
Good. Maybe he could be Gardner Minshew's backup next year.
Right? And so hopefully after this, they update. He's ranked 9th, or he's ranked 22nd overall in the QB rankings right now. We got DJU, who actually was ranked 19th. So hopefully maybe this flip flops and Jefferson is ranked a little bit higher. So I think he's a little bit better. Just DJU overall went to to the Seminoles, does not look good. He should have stayed with the Beavs. Jefferson is in a spot where he can actually, scouts can actually look at him, look at his arm, because they're known for their high flying offense.
Yeah, Florida State. Yeah, Florida. He went to the wrong Florida school. Florida State, DJU is he's just not very good. I mean, I think he was better at Oregon State than he was at Clemson or at Florida State so far. Oregon State, he should have stayed put at Oregon State. But Jefferson, UCF's got some players. I could see him raising his stock. Definitely. Because Arkansas, he was just fading away. Just a guy. UCF, he's got a puncher's chance.
For sure. Booyah! All right, those are guys I'm watching, and there might be that Jefferson might not be a guy you'd be able to get on the waiver wires or Ott. Higgins might be dropped here and there, so he's kind of a guy if you're kind of looking for. He might be out there, or his teammate might be out there too as well. So just a couple names out there to kind of put out there.
Yeah. Higgins, piggyback on that, absolutely. Higgins, we just mentioned the waivers, so he'll be there, and that'd be a nice receiver for your bench, and then start a few weeks as well. I think Higgins would be a great addition to your team if you could get your hands on him. Yes. Did you want to move to some of the award winners?
Yeah, we'll hit up that, and then you can show your playoffs, and then we wrap up and get the hell up out of here.
Yep. That's all, folks. My love affair with Cam Ward, it's going to continue. He's bringing home the Heisman. Yeah, I said it. I'll say it again. Cam Ward's going to win the Heisman. and there's some more Miami news coming in a couple minutes here. So there's more where that came from. I don't see why the hell not. I mean, he was top 10 passer last year, Washington State, and I mean that quarterback class was stacked. I mean, we see all the draft picks there. Cam Ward was not touchdown wise, but passing yardage wise, he was right there with anybody. So, and you don't have Bo Nix throwing 45 touchdowns. You don't have Penix throwing his crazy, like 49 total or some crazy. You don't have these two guys there to. It's basically Ward and Beck. Ward, Beck, maybe Shador, maybe a couple smaller school guys, and those will be your leading passers. But I got any Heisman thoughts, or do you think Cam Ward's a good pick?
I think Cam, he was kind of in that conversation, so I'm like, yeah, I kind of like it. I mean, him kind of being in the conversation for sure. I mean, I love it. I mean, we could probably say Sanders might be a guy who could be in that conversation talk too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Shador, and I'll go over to the right a little bit. So with passing, it's not a quarterback rating, it's not a touchdown. I think I'll just say with yards. So we'll go with yards there for passing. I think Shador is going to lead the country. I think you're going to see a lot of yards. Travis Hunter keeps playing like that. I know it was just a one game against an FCS team, but 3 touchdowns. Travis Hunter, I mean, the guy can do he can do it all. So we'll see what becomes of that. But I don't see why Shador couldn't, put up 300 yards most weeks, and then that'll tally up, man. I mean, that'll put him over 4,000. Absolutely. So I got Shador leading the country in passing yards. Do you want to chime in, or do you want me to wait and then bang all these out, and then if you have any thoughts?
Yeah, just go ahead, bang them out, and if I have any thoughts, I'll let you know.
Yep. So Cam Ward, Heisman, Shador Sanders, passing yards leader, rushing yards leader, Ashton Jeanty. Like I said, that's does the sunrise? It's pretty easy. Pretty easy to say Jeanty. There might be a few smaller school guys that can get up there and compete too, but he set the benchmark so high week 1. It's gonna be hard to see him not have at least 1,500 yards for sure. Like minimum. McMillan, T-Mac. I love that name, T-Mac. Sorry, Tracy McGrady.
Right?
He took your nickname. He's about to take your how's everyone's night? Exactly. Jump in on the X. Maybe I'll be more if people start commenting more on the X. Maybe you'll get me in there. I like to dance in the ring a little bit. So obviously Jamie's there all the time. If you have any thoughts on this list here, we might repost this picture as well, because I mean it's a beautiful picture. Got a lot of great players, great names. T-Mac, I got leading the country in receiving yards. I mean, 304 week 1. He's not going to do that every week, but if it accumulates over the season, 150 there, here, 200 there, 96 here, it's going to add up, and I think he'll lead the country in receiving yards. Dylan Raiola, I think there's no like award for that or anything, but I think Dylan will be the freshman of the year. Right. I think we're witnessing the resurrection of Nebraska football. And I think it starts with this kid and that coach, and then a few of the kind of the role players with the team. So it's good to see. It's good to see Nebraska. People actually want to watch Nebraska football now. This is outstanding. So Raiola is going to be the freshman of the year, and if you have him in Dynasty, he's going to be paying dividends for you the next couple of years for sure. And Carson Beck, I have as the number 1 pick, because I think he check marks all the boxes. He's not as athletic as some of these guys are, but he's that traditional passer.
Congrats! Here's your Oakleys.
Yeah, here's your Oakleys. He looks like a franchise quarterback. He just looks the part, and he's been. This ain't Stetson Bennett. This isn't some short, off the field troublemaker. Carson Beck's going to be somebody's franchise quarterback. Maybe the Giants. Maybe the Patriots. If they shit the bed on Drake May, maybe they try again. I'd say more of the Giants. I think the Giants will move off Danny Dimes, and Carson Beck could be a good landing spot for the Giants if they get the number 1 pick. Any thoughts on any of this?
No, I think it's gonna be close between Ollie Gordon and Gently. Yeah, I said it again, Gently.
He's gently. You're thinking of your cat. You're gently stroking the cat.
T-Mac here.
Gent-
So I think I think maybe Ollie Gordon can be kind of be in that conversation talk too a little bit. T-Mac, I think he's got a good opportunity to actually just run away with it. Luther Burden, I thought maybe he was going to have a nice, better, a higher scoring game. He pretty much shit the ball. Pretty much like, hey, I don't feel like playing today. So he really didn't. He didn't really do anything.
MIA.
Yeah, pretty much.
In Missouri ain't going to have any chance. I don't care how good the running back is playing. They're not going to have any chance against the higher ups in the SEC if Burden doesn't show up. They can't get away with that against, Alabama and Texas and teams like that. They'll have no chance.
Yeah, and then I do like the Husker. I like a roller there. So I think he'll be a good guy to I think is there any other starting freshman right now?
Yeah, Nico from Tennessee.
Oh yeah, so yeah, those
other
two
guys. There's a couple other guys too but these I think Nico and Dylan are the two heavy hitters for Tennessee and Nebraska. And we could see both programs take the next step because Tennessee's kind of been stuck in limbo too. That 8-9 win range.
Yeah, after Melton left and they're both of their other
Hendon Hooker and losing Joe Milton. I mean, this is a nice consolation prize to have. I mean, that's a nice succession plan to have Hendon Hooker, who's a backup of the Lions. Joe Milton, who just made the Patriots roster, third string right now, and then moved to Nico, who's a freshman who's going to be there a couple years. I mean, it's Tennessee is healthy at quarterback for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do kind of like it too because I kind of watched a little bit of him. I'm like, dude, he looks pretty stout, dude. I don't know if there'll be a couple years before he actually becomes an NFL prospect, just like a Rolo over there too.
Yep.
So I mean, the funny thing is, I actually picked up his wide receiver that he tossed a touchdown to. I can't remember his name offhand, but I picked him up and picked him up off waivers just because I think the Colorado game is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And
Texas, yeah. If you only got time for 2 games this weekend, it's Texas, Michigan, and it's Nebraska, Colorado. Those,
and then Beck. I mean, he's all right. I mean, the funny thing when we think about it as fantasy, like
he's not. He does throw a lot of passing yards. He was I think he was in the top 5 last year with yards.
Yeah, fantasy wise, he's not a good quarterback. When it comes to fantasy, he's not a great fantasy player.
No, he's not.
But an NFL like a regular football player, he's a baller.
Yeah, he fits the mold, kind of like maybe like a Jared Goff, where it's like he doesn't, not the athleticism of some of these guys, but just he's a winner. He's gonna put up some stats. He's just not gonna be a transcendent fantasy guy. A Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, guy like that.
For sure. But I know I do like Jackson Dart too. Dart.
Jackson Dart's he's a dart, but he's a dart. Yeah, Jackson Dart's he's a dark horse. I would say in the passing yards category because I don't think Jackson Dart's going to win the. I mean, I guess if Ole Miss was number 1, if they somehow ran the table and were the number 1 team. I mean, when's the last time Ole Miss has been number 1? I mean, really. So I think in that case you give it to Jackson Dart. But I mean, it would take a going through their brutal schedule. There's no way. And that's the only way I could see Jackson Dart competing for the Heisman, or I think he'd have a better chance at passing yards.
Yeah.
Because I think he'll be Jackson Dart, if he came out at the NFL, like third, fourth round guy.
I think I guess that's something. I think that's something for us to talk about in a later show. I think
down the line. Yeah, I was just thinking off the top of my head where he
maybe a day 2 guy. I mean, he's in the conversation talks. I mean, he's up there with Beck and all these guys. So there might be a little bit of work to him, but I think he could be a day 2 guy, probably more than likely.
Yeah.
But
yep. He's let's see. Yeah, I was thinking if Dart was I was thinking if he was a sophomore or a junior. But no, he is. But he's old enough. I mean, he's 21. So, he might come out. Who knows? So we'll leave it at that, and then we're gonna close with you know what? Drum roll, please. Whatever. Yep. Gone. He gone. These are the 12 playoff teams. Out of rhythm, I should say me, but we'll see Jay's thoughts. Let's see if Jay would take any of these guys, any of these teams out or not. I didn't necessarily put them by seed, but you can kind of, for sure, you can put Georgia at 1. I think Georgia's clearly the best team, and Boise State is the 12. Because I think Boise State will win the Mountain West. I think they'll be the best, like non Big Four conference winner. And now you could argue because the Pac-12 is still, Pac-12's got a pulse, so I guess it's still alive. But Washington State I guess Washington State would give them a puncher's chance. Conference USA with Liberty would give that a puncher's chance. But basically, it's basically the 5 conference winners and then 7 at large. It's kind of almost like the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
You're looking
pretty
at.
much.
Yep.
I didn't get a chance to kind of really kind of look into like I kind of seen a little bit of it, but I didn't really kind of go into like, hey, this is a puncher's chance. You can kind of say Boise State is kind of like the last, like smaller G5 team that could possibly like get in there. So it's kind of like the last spot from like a Liberty or one of those different teams that could maybe get up in there.
Yeah. I would say there's a handful of teams that could be in the mix. Like legitimately, I think Oregon and Boise State is a good, like we were mentioning 45 minutes ago or whatever. It's like that's the measuring stick game. Boise, if you're going to be a playoff team, Oregon would likely, a 5-12 Oregon Boise State matchup in the first round is very conceivable. So, if you got to hang with them. I mean, it's a road game. If Boise can hang with them, then I'll take them seriously because there's no reason they can't beat the rest of the teams on the schedule. Oregon's going to be the toughest game.
Yep.
So see what Boise can do there. Some of the other random teams in here, obviously Alabama. I think they'll find a way in. They always do. They're crafty. I'm not sure if they'll be the 10th team or the 4th team, but Alabama will be in there. Ohio State, that's another blue blood crafty team. Ohio State will find a way in there. They always do. Michigan's going to be down this year, losing Harbaugh, McCarthy, Corum, all the receivers. I mean, the team is depleted compared to where they were last year. So Ohio State's going to find a way in. Penn State finally with that nasty defense of theirs, get a little bit better quarterback play. Penn State will find a way in there. Miami. I told you this is going to be Miami. That we talked about the resurrection of Nebraska football. This is kind of the resurrection of Miami football too. I mean, the U might be back here. Cam Ward, Martinez, leading the charge to get into the big dance as the ACC champion. So and they're going to get in. It's going to be like we mentioned, it's going to be the SEC champion, ACC champion, Big 12 champion. And then like a random Pac-12 or Conference USA, Mountain West, will be some team like that. And I think I mentioned Big 12, ACC, SEC, and and then Utah I got as the 7 team there. Cam Rising, he stays healthy with that defense. Burdens of some of their players. Utah is gonna be tough to handle. I think they could win a first round matchup. I'm not sure if they'd be the 9th team or the 11th team or the 7th team. Utah could win a first round matchup, and then they could get to face a Georgia, get to face an Ohio State. And I'd love to see that. I've been waiting for Utah to peak here. Texas is good. Texas is going to find a way in. They're stacked. They number one team with NIL money. So Kansas State I think would be, along with Boise State. I think Kansas State would be a sleeper. And this is one that I'll probably disagree with on Jay on. Maybe he's got another Big 10, Big 12 team. Maybe he's got a Big 10 team. Maybe he's got somebody else you throw in there. But Kansas State would kind of be a sleeper team. I love Giddens, the running back. Johnson, the sophomore quarterback. He's replacing Will Howard. I think he's going to be solid this year. Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, like we were mentioning, he's a stud. I mean, they have a tough schedule, but I think if you win 10 games in the SEC, you go 10-2, and then get to a conference championship game, or you're higher up, maybe you're the 2nd team in the SEC East or SEC West. I think you definitely get in. And then Notre Dame, I could see them winning, 10, maybe 11 games. I mean, Notre Dame's going to be really good this year. Any thoughts on my 12 here?
No, I mean overall, look, I think there's a good plethora of teams. Georgia, Alabama. I think we all know the Ducks are going to be a team. Ohio State more likely be a team because there's no one going to be out there that's going to be able to match what they got right out there. Penn State, yeah, hell, why not? I mean, it's kind of a good idea. I mean, for me, I guess it's awesome that they did this kind of 12 playoff thing because it gives you more variety, more variety of teams that can go to the big dance, and we never thought of, hey, Boise State actually being a team that could maybe win a natty, So I just think this broadens the chances of prospects. Well, I wouldn't say prospects. What was I gonna say here? Because it opens the door for them to like, oh, Boise is actually a good program. Let's go to Boise. So they're further recruiting. I mean, this would be a good way for a team like that to open doors for players who want to go there. That's the way I guess that's the way I see it. I love Utah. I love Ole Miss. Do I love the Tech? Do I love the Longhorns? Yeah, I mean they're in the conversation talks. I just
They're
don't.
too big. My reasoning is like they're just too big to fail. Horns,
but yeah, right.
They're just like the number. Like I said, they're number one in NIL money. It's like they have too many players. Even with what they lost last year, they still have Quinn Ewers. I mean, they got Bond from Alabama, the stud receiver. So Texas they're just going to reload every year with NIL money, and they'll be in the mix. I don't see them making a Final Four or anything. They could probably be one and done, but Texas will get in there. Kansas State, if they did make it, it'll probably be a one and done team.
Yeah. Yep. And I think when it comes to this, you got to make sure you got the guys that want to achieve a championship. So when it comes to the playoffs kind of thing, I guess the manpower or willpower to say, let's go, guys. You want to get to the next round, let's go. So I mean, and it, I guess for me, it kind of loops out the guy. For us having always talk about, well, Georgia, Alabama. There's your playoff, and it's like, dude, I'll turn the damn TV off if it comes to that.
You've seen enough of that shit the last 5 years, but
Georgia, Alabama,
they get big ratings though.
Yeah,
I think these sick fuckers at these television networks and with these conferences, a lot of it's it's a TV game, so they're gonna Liberty could be 12-0, right? And Boise could you never know, but like instead of taking like Liberty could be the 9th ranked team in the country and they'd probably get whatever, and Boise could be 8, it wouldn't matter. They'd take the Alabama, the 3-loss Alabama team, or they take it's gonna be like it always was. It just adds more intrigue. It adds more to the mix. Expanding the 12, and we both like it and agree with it. It's just we know somebody's gonna get screwed. We know some smaller school or some lower end power 4 now. Some lower end team's gonna get screwed.
Yeah,
that's the way it is.
But that was our kind of our college playoff thoughts.
Yep.
And whatnot. It was just kind of nice to see that even though it was Michigan and Washington last year, I mean, hell, we all tuned in. It's if it was a Georgia, Alabama, I'm just like, it's just kind of all typical stuff, and it's like a turnoff for me.
Alabama, Georgia, Alabama. It's like I've seen enough.
Hell, I'll go watch a rerun of a Nebraska game. I'll find more fitting than watching that.
I mean, you would have people come out of the woodwork if Nebraska somehow won like 10 games and somehow got into this playoff. You'd have Nebraska fans coming out of the woodwork. I think they're all over the country. You'd have Nebraska brass coming out. So. I'd love to. There's certain teams I'd love to see it. I'm so sick of the same old. But that's why I wouldn't mind seeing Miami in there. Miami hasn't been good in 20 years. Kansas State. I wouldn't. Teams like that don't. Ole Miss. Teams that don't typically get a lot of top 5 love every year. Boise. So those kind of teams I would look forward to making a Cinderella kind of run.
Yep. But yeah, we gave you guys a plethora of information out there. waiver pickups. We talked about freaking weekly games for week 2. Just pretty much Heisman's to passing, and just guys to watch and whatnot. So we just gave you tons and tons of information, and but I mean, hopefully you guys kind of liked what you guys saw tonight. After this is over, maybe leave a comment down in on the good old YouTube down there after we're over. If you come across this, leave your thoughts in there. I'll try to get all the time codes put in there for each little segment we did, so you kind of can bounce around in there and just leave some comments down there for us. So I'll try to get if Eli or I will try to respond to you as quick as we can too as well. So we have Discord, and this will be on a new separate its own separate pod. So once that's uploaded, I will share that around. Watch us out on YouTube, or if you just actually follow our regular podcast, Odd Rhythm Fantasy Sports, it might pop up there too as well. So you might have to just type us in and type college, should pop up. So I'll try to have that uploaded by probably in the morning sometime, more than likely. So if you come across us, the pod audio version won't be until this morning, until like Thursday morning, more likely.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you for everybody tuning in. This, like I said, we'll work out the kinks. I mean, there'll be more of these college streams. This was a lot of fun. I know we flubbed a little bit here and there, but working out the kinks, and we'll get this. We'll get kind of the format we want down. I think there'll be a lot more. There'll be less predictions in the future. Probably be a shorter episode. Shorter hour-long episodes. We'll do more with waivers and games. Maybe a little bit of gambling. Maybe a little bit of DFS.
Probably toss a little bit of that in there. We'll get
a little
bit
bit of that in there. Kind of a hodgepodge of stuff, and we'll put together probably around an hour show. So tonight we want to get kind of get the first show out of the way, get predictions in, and so we did that. So we want to thank everybody that tuned in.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you kind of liked what you saw, or if you have any suggestions as well too, because I mean we're more open to see what you guys want, and that's what we kind of do this too. I mean, a little different look onto either college or instead of especially if we're doing college fantasy too, we want to kind of give you a little bit more of a different roundabout way of looking at college too as well.
Yeah, absolutely. This was fun. Some great games coming up this weekend. I think we beat to a dead horse with Colorado and Nebraska, but it's going to be fun. Nebraska hasn't had a game people have given a shit about in years, so this is going to be fun. Yeah,
for sure. So tomorrow, we're back tomorrow. We'll finish up. We'll wrap up with our NFL stuff tomorrow. They'll give you wild cards and some Super Bowl, and we'll give you kind of a Heisman kind of things. We'll have that all planned out for you. So our MVPs, passing, and all that good stuff. Rookie of the year. So we'll have that for you tomorrow. So if you like what you saw here, we'll pretty much be doing that tomorrow too as well. So jump in tomorrow, 7:15. Go hit that bell for notification because the stream's already set up. So go over there, hit that bell so you know when you go live. So hope to see you guys tomorrow. Jump into chats, give it hell, put your thoughts out there. So other than that, I think it's time for us to get up out of here. So from Odd Rhythm, I'm Jamie. That's Eli. We will catch you guys next. We'll actually catch you tomorrow. I was going to say next Wednesday.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
All right, guys.
All
right. All right. We'll catch you guys later. Catch you guys tomorrow. See ya.